Parliament. So in our Kickstarter this morning, we get to look at that by-election as it is unfolding and what is at stake. I am Priscilla Regina Naroga. Welcome once again to Morning at NTV. Now, the backbone of our discussion is that in less than 48 hours, voters in Kalangala district will be heading to the polls and they will be electing a new woman member of Parliament for Kalangala following the death of the former MP Helen Nachimuri. May her soul rest in peace. Now, what began as a by-election has now become a major political contest attracting national attention. You do have the ruling party NRM pushing hard to reclaim the seat, and this is through Ida Navayiga, while the National Unity Platform is banking on the sister of the fallen MP Irene Nampala to actually retain what many are considering an opposition-leaning constituency. What the president is expecting from Kalangala, you do have is another element. Senior party officials are camping in the islands, and their candidate is racing against time, against weather, and against the transport conditions to reach the voters at every level. And this contest is definitely evolving into more than just a local election. It could be a battle of service delivery, it could be a battle of political governance and dominance, or it could be an early test run into what could be for 2031 when we get there. So this morning, to unpack these conversations, I'm being joined by leaders at different layers of governance to help us unpack what the realities are on ground and what it takes to actually go through a by-election. Honorable Brandon Chintu, former Kagoma North MP, is joining us on this table, a political commentator and with extensive experience in electoral politics. He brings his expertise to the table. Honorable, you're most welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very fine, thank you. It's a very bright morning.
Yeah.
And a bright week, bright month, so we're ready to proceed.
All right, we also do have another leader that has served on local government, and that is Moses Mugisha Okwera, who's been a former LC5 chairperson. This is in Nakawa. He's currently serving as the FTC chairperson in Nakawa still, but also serving as the Secretary of Health on NEC. You're most welcome and good morning to you.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Thank you so much, management of NTV. Good morning, viewers. Good morning, my people from Nakawa East. Good morning, Uganda. My name is Okwera Moses Mugisha, as mentioned, chairperson FDC Nakawa. I'm really blessed to be in the studios of NTV in the morning to share some insights about Kalangala. Allow me also send my regards to people who lost their dear ones. We lost some gentleman called Emma Ruebuga in Bukulobi Market, who fell in a manhole that would have been handled by KCCA technical team and also some political leaders. So it's very unfortunate that we lost Ruebuga, we lost some other lady, the mother of Mary in Butabika. It's very unfortunate, but may their souls rest in eternal peace. Okay,
let me start with you, Mr. Mugisha.
Yes.
When we look to the Kalangala by-election, this is the election of a woman MP to just fill up the space in the 12th Parliament. Are we witnessing a version of the 2026 general elections, the pressure, the do or die, the loggerheads?
Yes, it's very unfortunate that we lost Nachimuri Helen, a very vibrant former woman MP of Kalangala district. She had been given a second term by the people of Kalangala district, and unfortunately she passed on. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Yes, like any elections, election is always tensed up. Elections are never simple. Whenever there's an election, be it at the primary level, be it at the university, be it at the second level, elections always bring emotions. They're always high. So Kalangala has been high the opposition. One of the former direct MPs of Kalangala is Kabuso Moses, who was FDC. And Kabuso initially was also DP. So all that shows that there has been so much high opposition, and I do believe that Kalangala is going to vote Nampala Irene. As opposition, all of us are behind the Nampala Irene. We sat in NEC as FDC, and we said we should support the NUP candidate. We should, because formerly, immediate past MP has been NUP. We don't see why we should fight each other as opposition. We said we should put all our weight behind the NUP candidate, because even some time back NUP supported us in Soroti City East, when we had a by-election between Ariko and the Honorable Atan Moses. NUP was behind us and the entire opposition leaders were behind us. So, as NEC, we decided to reciprocate, to support the NUP candidate so that they can take the position which has been theirs. So, yes, Secretary said, elections are always tensed up.
Okay.
Whichever election you are holding, even if you choose to have one at NTV here, it can bring a lot of tensions. So I know the NUP candidate is going to win.
All right. Honorable Chintu, you do have the NRM flag fronting Nabaiga, and this is something that is interesting. As any by-election, we always see the NRM bringing their best foot forward, and that means in terms of mobilization, the candidate themselves, and also really the footing on ground from different other members of the party to really emphasize support. Given the stakes that have been mentioned by Mr. Mugisha here, that all opposition parties are rallying behind the new candidate, where does that leave the case for the candidate of the National Resistance Movement?
First of all, I have been fortunate enough to have participated in a by-election. In 2026, I went to court and I won at both High Court and Court of Appeal. So we had a by-election in 2017. By that time, I was independent in Kagoma North. Kagoma was a wider constituency, so it was one. The nature of by-elections is quite different from the general election. You look at powers, every party. Fortunately enough, these are only 3 candidates out of the 6 that had picked nomination forms. And if you look on the footages that you've showed us, on the Dove nomination, the 3 of these candidates were massively escorted to the nomination center. So, you know, in politics, your grand entry of nomination will tell your end of the story in the election. So they physically presented themselves on the nomination day. And then, like Mugisha says, that this has been a unifying factor, that the opposition would sit and say, hey, look here, we need to regain this position, so let us not actually have other candidates. I don't know the independent candidate, whether she is NRM leaning, opposition leaning, but now we also have our NRM candidate. She's been a member of parliament before. And if you look at her submissions, and if you look at the history of Kalangala, I think it's one of the only districts in Uganda that doesn't have a regional hospital. The hospital, they only have 4 health centers at a level of health center 4. And this is a district with over 85 islands. So here, our candidate brings an experience. She'll rightly tell you, look here, when I left parliament, so many programs stole up. We are all aware that Kalangala has projects. We have the PAM, we have government programs. I was seeing the former LC5 mentioning a program that ever since he left office, no one made a follow-up. And before the elections, the president, who is also the chair, traveled the whole regions, so he was listening to the people. So Kalangala itself has unique factors that really need a leader of experience. But then this also brings me a joke. Normally when members of parliament lose, basically these have been from the NRM, and then you see a family truck. Now the opposition has done the same. I was watching some members also using some statements, this person is not from here, why don't you have your own someone? So there are a lot of factors as on to who by Wednesday will be declared winner. However, my party chair is in Kalangala today, and if I get chance, I would love to be in Kalangala as well. I worked closely with the Honorable Nachimule in the 11th Parliament, but in videos differ. She was an opposition, but a uniting factor to all of us.
Speaking of uniting factors, the party chair being in Kalangala today, how important is that step and visibility to the vote and the candidacy of the party in this by-election?
Yeah. First of all, people have been yearning to have the CEO of this country. Remember when the president visits the area, the voters get that vibration, the closeness, that he will give a statement saying, well, you had opposition, so I had no voice to remind me. Now I'm here to echo you, bring back Nabaiga, who was in parliament, we have programs that we are standing, I'll be able to listen. So that's very significant that people of Kalangala will have hope. Remember, this is a fishing area. we have a new minister, State Minister of Fisheries, Lukwago Migade, who has camped there throughout the elections. He's telling them, look here, I understand. I come from the fishing community. And Nabaigai worked with her in parliament. The president is coming here. So they will have hope. So there is a very big likelihood that these people have now, we have the party chairperson, the leader of the NRM manifesto that they have to look at to champion Kalangala with its unique problems. So that can be a very greater chance for the NRM that we can regain, especially when you have a leader that has been in the seat before. However, there are also some sentiments and some brands of the new entrants in this era, the biggest population being the young people that are very, very vibrant. They also want to look at the change. They will say, well, we had this member of parliament who was there vibrantly young and comes from this family. I saw for the first time that the father of late Honorable Nachimuli, who is a reverend father in the Orthodox Church, was saying, hey, look here, I bring you the best brand. So the three forces are emerging out to offer for the Kalangala. But at the end of the day, it will be the voices of Kalangala. But as a leader and as somebody who supports development, as I look at Kalangala, I would implore that the people of Kalangala would gather so much to make sure that the NRM candidate.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Chintu. This brings me back to Mr. Mgisha. One, the continued element that is being mirrored, that service delivery or improvement of any services to any given community should be tied to the ruling government. And the ruling government is really government. It's not that it should be facilitating and benefiting only NRM flag bearers in this case, and then NRM persons. Because at the end of the day, the hospitals that are being referred to are going to service the people of Kalangala, not the NRM people of Kalangala. What are your 2 cents on this narrative?
Thank you so much, Priscilla, and the viewers. You see, when you go into leadership, you serve the entire people, because you are the one at the mantle of leadership. You would have gotten the mandate, be it in the wrong way or in the right way, but would be now serving people. That's why we keep on cherishing Dr. Milton Obote, the former president of the Republic of Uganda, when he built 22 hospitals across the country. You could find one is in Tungamo, one is in Paida, Pakwachi, one is in Lira, one is... They're all across the country. They were even distributed across one is in Chivoga, even distributed across the country. So even when you don't get the support as a president in a particular area, but you remain what? The president. So for 40 years, you are still struggling having a district hospital. So it doesn't mean you don't even qualify to even step there. By essence, the president would be so much ashamed to step in the Kalangala, because apart from the usual rhetorics, oh, we shall do this, 40 years. 40 years is not a mean time. 40 years is not a mean time. I come from Nakawa here, Nakawa division. We have almost about 8 institutions. That is institution of high learning, about 8 or 9, but all of them were built during either Amin or Bote or the British government. We don't have a single one in this NM government. For how many? 40 years. In Nakawa, where I come from, we have only one city secondary school, which was built in 1980. That's the newest. What am I saying? Kalangala, you don't have a district hospital. Yet we are struggling with the transportations. With how many islands which are separated apart, such a people would be most given attention to be helped. So, but you have a president who thinks that for a purpose to be supported, they must be voting NRM. That's a very wrong scenario. The government, which is the money which is given by Parliament through Honorable Brandon, is government money. It's not NRM money. It's not Museveni and family money. It's not particular individual money. It's money that comes from all taxes. Everybody pays taxes, directly or indirectly. So in other words, whether I support NRM, whether I support NUP, whether I support FDC, I support DF, everybody's supposed to get services equally. Okay. Kalangala notwithstanding.
Another element that is also going to be really boiling is the presence of the president in Kalangala today. Given the fact that the National Unity Platform Party president is out of the country, that would have been interesting to see two figures that are well desired in the public eye being in Kalangala. So to what disadvantage is that going to be for the garnered collective opposition support towards the NUP candidate? That's
a good point. It's a good point. Whereas seems to be a low point on our candidate, but to some extent it's a high point because they know that the Honorable Chagwanya need to go outside the country willingly. People are being witch hunted every other day. Today at 10 a.m., my former boss, Lukwago, is going to appear before Makinde court. Somebody was snatched from his real bedroom. But the bedroom is supposed to be a highly respected private place of a family. But they knocked the bedroom, they found him there, and he was snatched from the bedroom, taken to Luzira on trumped up charges. So everybody knows that in Uganda we are not free. All of us are living in fear. So, and people, the voters of Kalangala, know that Chagula need to go outside the country just. They know that they went outside the country because of a little more having some bit of freedom, but it's going to come back. So the voters are not going to vote the NUP candidate. Not going to vote the NUP candidate because whether Chagula is not here or is here, they can still vote the NUP candidate because they know that place here, that place they want to replace the NUP candidate who died.
All right. So
there's that kind of sympathy what is coming up, but also the services in Kalangala are not at the best. So even for 40 years, Mr. Busan has been in power, the services are not at the best. So people would rather vote NUP candidate and get nothing than vote NRM and get nothing.
All right, so this is something that Honorable Chintu had actually mentioned earlier, the element or the questioning of relatives taking over from the deaths of members of parliament. We saw it for the case of Olanya. We've seen it for quite a number of MPs now. So it has become a ritual, a practice that has been received and accepted across the board. But is it one that is beneficial to and additional to good governance?
The slogan says...
Is being a relative a crime?
No, not really, because every citizen or Ugandan has a right as long as this person qualifies. But just in the natural sense, somebody will still tell you, hey, your party chair has a son who is a CDF, a wife who is a minister, then other relatives. That doesn't actually, it's not an issue, because when you look at continuity, when somebody tells you, hey, look here, I'll give you an example. The Honorable Isaac, the son to the late Right Honorable Speaker of Olanya, Isaac had continuity that he would assume my father used to talk to me, so these are the programs of Omoro. So I don't look at that as a crime, because these are all citizens and these are all Ugandans. However, it also has, like you've just rightly said, Priscilla, it has an advantage of sympathy, because remember when the late Honorable Nachimuli died, touched so many hearts across the country. Everyone was called at Parliament, I remember. So some people would still look, they would not look at the candidate and look at the Honorable Nachimuli, how she used to behave. So would say, oh, let's carry on this legacy to make sure that there is continuity in service in this person. So that stands also an advantage. However, you cannot now throw that out, because the previous actions, especially from the members of parliament from the NRM that died, and then either their sons or their children or relatives have assumed responsibility. Now it has come to the opposition. So what would it tell you? That it has some advantage out of it, because the opposition have also seen that, hey, look here, in the previous instances that's happened and these people performed. But sometimes there are those that may not come back, because after saying, they will start comparing, oh, maybe this did not reflect what we expected.
All right, Mugisha, yes. The moral perspective to this debate, that the power of the sympathy vote is what you're working with right now in this by-election.
You see, Madam Priscilla, the viewers, the challenge is if a leader overstays in power, chances are that by extension, by osmosis, even those who are nearby end up taking some traits from that the party has been staying in power. Mr. Museveni staying in power has made even some working places, even some MDs, even in churches, even in mosques, there is some bit of resemblance of leadership from the president, how they do things because of staying in power.
Okay.
So you end up getting some traits. You can call them bad traits because opposition does not have those kind of traits. But by extension, when somebody overstays in power, you end up copying some of those items and you end up finding them in your way of doing things. So the issue of relatives becoming leaders wouldn't be the best option. But somewhere, you end up picking those traits. Now, for instance, you have Mr. Museveni, the president, the wife is the minister of education, the brother. So those kind of traits are really not good traits. Would be
but it's a trait that has been picked up, and you're running with it for this by-election.
Yes, we have it now, and
so will it be a continuing practice for the opposition?
It's not for us. Opposition majority we have been so much on merit, we have been so much on real competence, and we still pray that this lady represses naturally. Our prayer is that the people of Kalangala vote for NUP candidate, and that is being supported by the entire opposition, FDC, PFF, NUP, DF, and all of us. We are really behind Nampala. Okay. I know she's going to serve very, very well in Parliament, in this 12th Parliament. So kindly the people of Kalangala kindly support and vote her.
All right, Honorable Chintu, as one who has been part of the by-election, these 48 hours are very critical because you really are working within a limited time to convince people to vote and get into the election itself. What are some of the things that we need to look out for critically?
First of all, at the last minute of a by-election changes a lot. You may even get surprises. There are those, I remember a couple of years ago, we used to have people that wear capes and they call themselves silent majority. There are some movements around Kampala. So there are also some silent people that are waiting to the voting day. And it can also change. It depends on how are you going to package. Now, my party chair is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of heat. I have seen that the NUP is also organizing their last rally. Now, they intensify unity, especially from the NRM Secretariat, because the whole NRM Secretariat is there. All NRM members of Parliament that are from the region, they have come to there. The vice chairperson of the NRM is in there. So the structure, the NRM candidate has an enormous support that people will be able to have very serious, competent polling agents.
Okay. All right. Mr. Mgisha, mobilization is a very key element in this last 48 hours. How are you intending to do mobilization to ensure that you get a good result out of this election?
Yes, last minutes do a lot of work, especially now we have the issue of voter protections. You know, NRM has always been so much prescribed by stealing votes. My experience from Nakawa East, I stood as a member of parliament and was not allowed to enter. As opposition, we were not allowed to enter some places. For instance, we were not given a chance to enter Prisoners Parish, which has 10 polling stations and 6,000 voters. But NRM, whenever he took advantage of that particular parish to do all that he had to do to become a member of parliament for Nakawa East. So my view, leaders in Kalangala, especially the NUP leaders, these last moments are very, very important. Even when you have the votes, you have to make sure that you have the agents are going to mind very well those polling stations, allocate people very, very well. Those areas are very challenging in terms of transport. So allocate the agents very, very well. Those who are incorruptible. Sometimes this government is fond of corrupting everybody, giving them a lot of money so that they can leave the polling stations. People who are really honest, to be at the places from morning till evening, have the desks, have those writing places, have the writing pads, have the pens, okay, have the allowances already, but be available to protect the votes, because that's what counts. After protecting the votes, then so that we can win overwhelmingly.
All right, Mr. Moses Mugisha Okwera, thank you so much for being with us. Honorable Brandon Chintu, thank you so much for your 2 cents on really the critical 48 hours that are remaining to the by-election of Woman Member of Parliament, Kalangala District. Now, in as much as we're going to be going to the polls in a few hours, there's also an extended further implication that we must be thinking about as a country. It's the test of political organization, of voter sentiment, and the influence of legacy politics, but also the ability of parties to connect with communities facing real development challenges. One of the development challenges that has come out from this table is the status of health as a sector in Kalangala. No big national hospital that is serving the 85 islands. So above all, it's offering a glimpse into what the strategies, the strengths, but also the vulnerabilities are shaping Kalangala as a political landscape for the country as we're moving further into the current 5-year term that is running. So thank you so much for watching the Kickstarter, but more conversations are coming your way. Do stay with us. We do continue on with the conversations of the day here in Monday's edition of Morning at NTV. We get to look at a critical element in our communities and our societies, and those are people that we have dubbed refugees. These are people that are coming in from other parts of the world or other parts of the region. In this case, we look at the East African region, from one place that is heightened in terms of conflicts, especially civil conflicts, to safer places that they can have a renewed hope as far as livelihood is concerned. But the word refugee in this day and era, as we had an earlier conversation, we need now to see it as an opportunity instead of a problem as a country. Now, from the course of the weekend, we did have the commemoration of World Refugee Day, which brought different stakeholders together, signatories to the UN Charter, and all coming together to see how best they can actually improve on the livelihood of refugees. And this is in consideration of host communities and host nations, and make sure that they are not just part of people that are being brought in to find a place of existence and be given some land to do some jobs here and there, but that they too can actually be meaningful contributors to the growth and development of our communities and our society. This conversation is being brought to you by Rachel Adid.
Thank you very much. In response to protracted displacement and the dwindling humanitarian aid across the globe, the displaced communities or the people of special concerns are now turning into localized solutions to see that they are self-reliant. And when you look at Koboko, according to the data, this is a municipality that hosts over 25,000 self-settled urban refugees. However, recently, SURA, that is the South Sudanese Refugees Association, received funding to implement a project where they're trying to see how the local leadership of a municipality can be in person to actually develop local solutions to address the dear needs of this particular people of concern. I'm delighted to be joined by the Executive Director of SURA, that is Mr. Onjima Dankani. They are so far holding the third phase, the participatory forum 3. We want to understand in participatory forum 2, they were trying to see how can now they be in person to make the recommendations which were made in participatory forum 1 into reality. And there were a number of issues that time. They looked at issues of health, you talk about education. What are we seeing this time in participatory forum 3? You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Rachel. As you have mentioned, my name is Onjima Duncan, the team lead at SURA. At Participatory Forum 3, now we want to look at concrete concepts that can be implemented already immediately after the forum. But before looking at this, we had the ideas which were developed by the stakeholders during the Participatory Forum 2. Pilot ideas were identified, but now Participatory Forum 3 now wants to have concrete ideas that we can take on. Like as we Participatory Forum 2 identified 3 areas that we can venture in. business formalization, education and health, and then we have strategic scaling. So these were the key discussions which came up during the Participatory Forum 2. But now today, at Participatory Forum 3, we now want to identify some commitments from the stakeholders. You know, for an idea to be implemented, we need commitments from the stakeholders, the development partners, the media, the NGOs. So today's discussion will now identify who needs to lead, what needs to be taken forward after the discussion. Because now there are ideas of establishing a service hub under education and health, the ideas of having strategic scaling, of having market-ready skills for the youth, because now we have a number of youths who are unemployed. Such interventions now come into like scaling the youth, improving household incomes. So we are going to discuss at the end of today. We'll need to decide on one area that we can now move on with, so that such integrations are connected with the livelihood activities like business formalization, if it is under health, because now health centers are stretched because of increasing numbers. Koboko has over 23,000, so schools are overstretched. So at the end of today, we'll choose one area that we'll move on with. And then with the commitments that we'll get from this discussion, we'll now be able to see how the intervention can be implemented.
Maybe you can tell us what is the composition of the participants, and other than just having the composition, what could be some of the likely local solutions that you think could be brought forward by these local leaders to address the dear needs, actually the urgent needs of these people of special concern?
Yeah, this forum has brought together the government agencies. We have immigration here, we have URSB that manages business registration, because we have discussions on business formalization, and then we have URA, Uganda Revenue Authority, and then we have the local government of Koboko municipality, and then Koboko district. The mayor is here, then the RDC, they're all here. The technical wing of these two local governments, represented by the town clerk, and then we have the INGOs, we have community-based organization, civil society network, and then we have the IDPs, internally displaced persons, we have refugee representatives, and then we have the religious leaders. So with all this composition, we expect that all these ideas are locally grounded.
Within the context, why did you people decide to choose the urban settings other than implementing it within the refugee settlement where a majority of these people of concern are being held?
Yeah, well, a lot of interventions have been tailored to the refugee settlements. So many partners have intervened in some areas, but now, if you look at with the cutting of the funding, and then this affected so many households in the refugee settlements. Some households completely get nothing. So this forced many of them to move to urban areas. And Koboko being next to Yumbe, which is holding one of the largest refugees in Uganda, Koboko is now an area which is integrated already, because the community here is Kakwa community, and then the same Kakwa community is in South Sudan. South Sudan has the majority of refugees in the camps, and then also here in Congo, Kakwa is also there. So this became a common factor for which they come to the urban areas. But the main factor driving them is a livelihood factor, because now food is not being provided in the camps. Though urban refugees are not recognized as Koboko, but they are there. This survey has been done, and it has been proven that there are over 23,000 refugees, urban refugees in Koboko municipality. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I can't say it any more better than how he has actually put the conversation into a context. He did confirm here that looking at this particular project, they're trying to see how they can develop grassroots livelihood initiatives that can be in person to help these refugees in the wake of this funding cut from the international donors or the aid cut across the globe. And of course, this has not only affected refugees who are settled in the urban areas, but also those who are in the refugee holding areas or the settlements. And he also did confirm here that under the localization of these particular solutions, they are also trying to see how can they be in person to have skills that can make these refugees self-reliable. This has been the conversation here, but what you need to know is that as per the current data, Uganda holds over 1.9 million refugees, and these are people who have actually been drawn from different parts of the world. But don't forget that this conversation is being made in the wake of Ebola, so make sure that you observe the standard operating procedures. For now, allow me to say that, let me hand you to my colleague in the studio to continue with the conversations back there. Back to you in the studios.
Up to news of the abduction of Elias Lukwago, a former Lord Mayor and of course a lawyer, under unknown circumstances. 48 hours plus later, he was then brought before the courts and charged with the charges that then had his legal team request that he be preferred those charges on with bail in consideration of his health condition. They were asking the state to actually consider that he comes from outside to be able to attend to the matters that have legality connotations to them. So the state has asked the High Court to deny bail to the former Kampala Lord Mayor, arguing that he faces a serious charge that is linked to national security and could interfere with ongoing investigations if released. And so that bail hearing will be happening today in Machindia, at which we do have a report on ground, Stephen Bite, who's here to bring us the latest in this development. Stephen, good morning to you.
Coming to you from the premises of the Chief Magistrate's Court here in Machindia, and we still expect that the former Lord Mayor Council, Elias Lukwago, who is now on remand in Luzira, will be presented here for a bail ruling for his case that was opened for misprision of treason. And here I've seen some members of the family of Lukwago coming in, politicians are coming in, the lawyers already said. Here I have lawyer Lawrence Kabuye, who from the Lukwago and Company Advocates. I have Honorable Joseph Sengu Gonzaga from Kalungu. There is also the president of Need Party, Joseph Kavreta, is also here to witness the ruling. But let me speak to them for just a few minutes. Good morning, Council Lawrence Kabuye from Lukwago and Company Advocates.
Good morning, how are you?
Are you still hopeful, because we've seen the prosecution laying at least 7 reasons for Lukwago to be denied bail? Are you still hopeful that you'll be walking away with Lukwago today?
Definitely we are hopeful. There were directions from court on how to proceed with this bail application, and we duly complied. We undertook to file on behalf of our client by Saturday, and I must assure the public that on Saturday we had filed all the necessary paperwork and documentation in response to whatever allegations were contained in the submissions of the respondent. It's quite unfortunate that many of the reasons were flimsy, I must say, because the entire state cannot say they don't know where a man of the caliber of our client where he stays, his place of abode. They picked him from his home. Now they are alleging they don't know. Secondly, the state who undertook to investigate on the documentations that were presented to court, the other time Mr. Lukwago took plea, alleged that there is a difference between Bulwa zone and Wakaliga. You can imagine. So there are such individuals that do not take research, do not investigate, do not carry out, and notwithstanding the introduction letter that Mr. Lukwago presented to court, had contacts of the chairperson and the vice chairperson. None of them even intimated in their submissions they called. You get. So that is the fact of the matter. And but we are before court. We are really before court. We complied, and we are very hopeful.
How is he? Have you been able to establish these past days since Wednesday he has been in Ruzira prison? Have you been able to establish the health condition of Lukwago?
Definitely, he's not doing well. His health is deteriorating day by day, by the virtue of the fact that he was meant to do forceful drills that are contrary to the medical prescription that was recommended after the operation that she took. So his health is deteriorating. But in that regard, if the state is not having that at the back of their mind, that the person they invested it in money to be treated abroad, they would see to the effect that he comes back, gets his freedom, goes for treatment, and recovers very well. If their motive is to try a person who is living, they would see to the effect that he comes back, gets his freedom, goes for treatment, comes and stands trial while he's still alive.
Thank you, Council Lawrence Kabuye from Lukwago and Company Advocates. Let me also turn to some of the politicians here. Honorable Joseph Gonzaga from Kalungu, without mentioning names, but because I know it's a subject matter of Supreme Court. But for you as a member of Parliament, a member of the opposition, you're here also to be part as Lukwago gets his bail ruling. What do you expect?
What I expect is bailing him out. You see, the matter resulting around Lukwago, the mayor, is about summons. But I've been in the Parliament. One time we summoned his father, the president. And the president of Uganda, of course by his powers, he could not come to Parliament. I was under Public Accounts Committee. We met him in the State House and we asked him a number of questions about Masaja Balabazi funds. He got 169 billion. That's how we censured Saida Bumba and the late Chido Makuya. May so rest in peace. We also one time summoned Janet Museveni, the First Lady. She appeared in the Committee of Parliament, Park, but you don't have those records. Look for them. When she came, actually, we had to send out all the soldiers. They had guns with them. They went out, and the Janet Museveni, the First Lady, responded to Park, led by Cassiano Wadri by then. Later on, we summoned the Prime Minister, Mama Mbabas. He had refused to appear. And we gave summons to police to arrest him. He came by himself to the Committee of Parliament. So why should we have this kind of battles and arrests where we have first citizens of the country appearing before committees?
What if Lukwago is denied bail today? What will it mean for himself as Lukwago is ailing, according to his lawyers, but also the rule of law?
Bail is a discretion of the judge and the magistrate. She has all those powers under this case because this matter is bailable here. And I am also a counsel. I am moving with my card and everything to be representative of my person from Kalungu. Lukwago is from Kabungo, where I'm representing. And is the best suited to come and represent me after because I'm towards retirement. So when I'm here, I'm representing all the people of Kalungu and his father who passed on a long time ago and the mothers who are at home, plus the whole family. So I'm here politically, legally, to defend Lukwago, my constituent. And you know, I worked with him seriously in Kampala on the matters of selling of Shimon Demonstration School. I put him in that matter until we made him a member of Parliament. So this one should be in the hands of the magistrate. They are telling someone is incapacitated. He needs these doctors. Let us have independence of the judiciary at hand here. That's why we are here.
Thank you, Honorable Joseph.
And my rosary is here, you know.
I can see. Thank you so much. Let me speak to some of the members of PFF, where Lukwago is the president. Mr. Guma Gumisiriza, good morning to you.
Good morning, viewers.
I will help you handle the microphone. As PFF, you are here, members of PFF, you are here also to show solidarity to your president.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Well, as we know that this, we won't get surprised when the day is denied, because we are all aware that all institutions in this country were captured by the state and by the first family. So whatever comes out won't surprise us, because when we see Dr. Chizabesi has spent almost 2 years under custody, and whereas he had a man, he was supposed to be bailed, be given a bail a long time ago. So we don't see anything unique. But even when you see the manner in which was captured and humiliated, we won't get surprised whatever comes out, because we're in a state that is has left the trend, the real way of things how to done. But then this is a warning and my call on everybody, every Ugandan, that come on, it needs to come out. Uganda, most of the people from Ankore, I come from Ankore, you must come up and put your son in order, because...
All right. Okay, because I have to go back to studio, sorry for cutting it short. My time is out here. But thank you so much. I have to let you know that Chief Magistrate of this match in the Chief Magistrate's Court, Sarah Basemera, her worship is already inside this building, just waiting for the suspect, that is Elias Lukwago, who is still on the way, expected to be here by 9, which is now just 5 minutes to 9 a.m. And we know that for now, at least the sureties who were presented by the defense team, that is Honorable Sarah Musumba, Honorable Michael Lumebaiga, and Honorable Betty Nambos, are not yet here, but we expect them to be here alongside their chief, the lead lawyer, that is Medad Segona Lubega from Lukwago and Company Advocates. And anytime when they get here, we shall be seeing the bail ruling taking place here at the Chief Magistrate's Court in Machindi. And at least the prosecution has presented 7 reasons why the bail application should be denied to Elias Lukwago. We shall be bringing you much more details on what happens here at Machindi in our subsequent bulletins, NTV at 1, NTV at Kaungezi, and NTV tonight. Stephen Imbido, Fefeso Chibuga, Brian Kayondo, we say thank you.